So what I'm asking, okay, thank you, that helps.
Good.
That's what I got from reading for the first time after 3 years, was that maintenance of, it's 80,000 a year in the operating budget for the off years, and that's like literally filling potholes. So where does now, so my second question is, we talked a little bit of this on the phone, I know we're focusing on the first 10 years, but the plan gives reference, and a lot of these responses give reference to, it's not in the plan timeframe, in the timeframe of this plan. Does that mean the 10 years, or does that mean the until 2039? Like, what is the timeframe of the long-range plan? I've always thought it was, there's out years, there's a column, but like, I don't see it here.
Well, we've used some placeholders for protecting debt runoffs. You know, we've had a lot of discussion about whether or not we're using significant enough placeholders for that. In the current draft plan, the placeholder for additional road projects from 2030 to 2039 is $5 million.
And does that include Milton overlay?
That's unspecified. It's a placeholder. You know,
But-
and most likely, it's going to be this continuation and was that resolution that's based at the discretion of the board, if we're not done with reconstruction. There's certainly an opportunity in the late 2020s to discuss if some of our road surfaces that were previously reconstructed have deteriorated. Right now, we're not engaged in those hypothetical discussions. The intent is to try to finish the reconstruction efforts and then move back. But as always, you know, our Public Works Department and the board is going to be sensitive to the fact that if our streets are deteriorating and need to lace in some mill and overlay into our reconstruction efforts, that would be addressed at that time.
So for instance, Oakland Avenue South, it is, by the time it's scheduled, it'll be 48 years old. Is that okay? I mean, is the pavement gonna last that long?
Well, that's a fact, yeah. I mean, that's, you know, obviously, you know, we're gonna try to maintain the road the best we can with.
I mean, is it feasible? Like, is it an actual, could it actually last that long? Most likely?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I mean, Public Works is not indicating that the road is in imminent failure condition.
It was like
We all acknowledge that it has a lot of cracking, you know, and we'll give it the applicable maintenance effort until we reconstruct. The challenge with concrete roads is that the good maintenance effort is almost as expensive as reconstructing the road to begin with. So again, at the will of the board, if the board believes that should be a higher priority, certainly staff seeks your guidance on that, and we can schedule it for you.
Well, in even years with major road reconstruction projects, and in odd years, they're not going to do any overlays. So what are they going to do all summer in odd years if they're not doing any road?
I'm pretty sure that's on the schedule.
I also, well, that's what I'm saying though, I mean, and you're saying like, if like Lake, the roadway's deteriorated, but we're not gonna be able to do a full reconstruction until somewhere between 2023 and 2025, whatever it's in various places, but, so you do a mill overlay to extend the life of the road, and to, you know, I just don't, has Leanne said we're not doing any mill overlay?
Yeah, because it'd be in here.
I've said that 5 times. I don't know how much more clear I
Well, but
can
it's
express
a
that.
complete departure from how a road program has run in the past.
We'll take any guidance you want.
What does the plan say? I'm trying to recollect. I know we were doing crack fill and the 100,000 was what we had budgeted.
We've
for the
got
last
the
year.
annual maintenance effort for roads, which is partially crack fill, large patches,
Striping.
potholes,
Right.
and then partially striping and marking to keep up with all our main designations.
That was-
That's annual. It's not every other year anymore. Historically, every other year, they used to set aside money to do a mill and overlay of a section of the road.
Correct.
Okay. That is no longer the plan moving forward because we've identified Lake Drive, we've identified Downer Avenue, and then within the scope of the plan and the foreseeable future,
You mean 10 years?
it's just, yes, 10 years.
I'm trying to establish what is the
Thank
scope of the
you.
plan.
I don't
Honestly,
mean
it
to be
changes throughout the
ambiguous, but
document.
yeah,
Because I.
we don't see the need to do that.
Go ahead, trustee Warren.
Just being new here, I just want to kind of reset just a little bit, and I apologize if this is remedial, but I'd like to know just kind of very basically, what is our historical practice with respect to the roads, and how does this change it going forward? I think you've hit on that, but can we put a fine point on it, just so I'm really clear as to how this is changing historically what we've done?
Sure. Again, in the time frame I've been with the village, which is a little over 5 years, my understanding is that we used to try to do some mill and overlay work in the non-reconstruction years. Again, reconstruction is typically even, and it's not magic, it's just the way it works out, you know.
Yeah.
And then we do some mill and overlay with the other maintenance, more maintenance-based projects that we used to do in the odd years. Now,
Which is in our pavement management plan.
Okay.
Now, in the odd years, we never used to do alley reconstruction. Okay, this is a relatively new.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that that's a sub-out for the mill and overlay, but Public Works is outlining reconstruction efforts here, and there is no planned mill and overlay projects only other than what we're currently doing in Lake Drive and what we are anticipating doing for Downer Avenue and the Pine.
Okay.
Can I,
My understanding is that mill and overlays are a way to extend the life of roads. So, and that is also a concept in the pavement management plan. So
It's
maybe
the
we need to
concept.
hear from Leanne about, maybe there aren't any roads that need it.
That's what I was wondering, if we had caught up.
so we have a thing
I-
called PACER.
I don't know.
I want to help because she's not here, but we have a thing called PACER in our pavement management plan. Every 2 years, you have to update it for state regulations, so this is the update here. But, so we do have 2017 pavement ratings, we should. I have not, I asked Leanne ahead of time, and she did not provide them, but she said that they do it every 2 years. That would give you a good sense, but it is on a rolling scale, so there is not a time when it's ever going to be, there's no 1s or 2s or 3s, or, below 5.
Like new
Because
hall right now.
It just rolls, and so I think what trustee, I don't understand, so the pavement management plan, I have it with me, it's only 7 pages, and basically it says what trustee Menta is saying, and Whitefish Bay is kind of doing, which is mill and overlay are cheaper and can extend the life of asphalt for like 10 more years, and extend the life of
Right, that's
concrete
right.
for another, right? And so if you can keep on top of doing that, then you are saving money. So by going to this schedule, I'm okay if that's, all the time we have, but I don't understand the future cost implications that brings about. And in addition, I really, for 3 years now, have said the same thing. We don't do capital budgeting or planning. And so it was so time consuming for me to try to understand what's small capital, what's large capital, I don't really care. I want to know what all our capital needs are and then figure it out. But so that's why the road program's confusing me. All of a sudden arterial roads, which are roads in our village, put them all in one road category, what is our road program? And now we have reconstruction in both, even in odd years, because some are arterials and some are, it's just not an integrated program. Yes, Mark?
Okay. Well, you may have recalled this sheet from the draft, back of the draft long-range plan. You don't need to see it, I can tell you what it says. It says, for nearly 30 years, the village didn't do any significant street work.
And we're going that
And
way
in the
now.
last 10 years, we've rolled up our sleeves and we're starting to reconstruct all the streets. And there's some maintenance, there's some mill and overlay, and there's some other projects, but in the grand scheme of things, it was very minimal. The outcome of that is that by the time we get to them, almost all of our streets will have deteriorated, and notwithstanding what we've done in the last 10 years, but all our streets will have deteriorated to the point, on the Pacer scales, where reconstruction's merited. That's the process we're working through. We're reconstructing streets. We're not doing general mill and overlays as a normal course with the pavement management, because our pavement management wasn't in place in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, and everything now requires reconstruction. Once we get through our reconstruction,
It's not with the
then
pavement.
we'll flip to more mill and overlay, and then reassess reconstruction needs as practical. The pavement management plan is designed on this hypothetical ideal that you've got ongoing maintenance for your system, which just wasn't the case. We've had much more reconstruction needs than mill and overlay. Ideally, those are integrated. And I think, again, in 2030s, 2040s, 2050s, once we get through some more mill and overlay efforts to maintain the life of the roads that we're currently trying to reconstruct, we're going to get more into a mix of mill and overlay and reconstruction, and maybe get to a more balanced approach on the roads.
I don't think so. So
So
here's
the
my.
road plan is pretty clear. Whether you agree with it or not, requires direction from the board to the public works staff.
What
Mark.
plan?
So, I'm sorry. I know you don't like me talking about you.
Thank you. I appreciate when I do the same to you.
Yes. This is a departure, so whether you want to say our road plan does not do this, we're in reconstruction. It is very clear, our pavement management plan, which is our policy, and from what I remember, is we do in the odd years mill and overlay. If we are starting to depart from that, then that has that we're going back basically to how we used to do roads. So I just want to be clear on, we'll finish our reconstruction and then we're going to spend 40 years just doing mill and overlay, like I-20. So it's just a change in the way, that's not, I don't know if that's acceptable to the board, but that's the first time we're hearing that. So if you're,
I'm looking at the plan, it's $220,000 for pavement maintenance in odd years, and even years, $2 million in reconstruction. So we've gone from 220 to 100,000 every. I don't remember mill and overlay. When we eventually get there, we'll start having the mill and overlay, but we should be. If this says 220 a year in maintenance and in pavement management plan, so a mill and overlays.
Well, yeah, but that's from 2001,
9,
2009.
but I haven't.
I mean, there was a mill and overlay of Wildwood, was it Wildwood and Marlboro a couple of years ago? And I think it was pretty cheap because we piggybacked on the city of Milwaukee contract. But, I mean, we definitely, I mean, I think I mean, I haven't gone out and surveyed the roads myself, but I think to tell people like on Summit or Hackett, well, it's coming in 2026, but you could drive on this roadway, for the next 8 years. I mean, I have a hard time believing that there's not some room for, minor mill and overlay projects here and there, and it just gets the street through until the time when it's reconstructed. And I agree, this is also a different conception than what I had understood our road program was, so maybe we just need more discussion and information about it, and when Leanne's around, and make that a clear concept.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that's coming to my mind is one of the options, is the thought that if we use mill and overlay as in some of these areas that are slated for reconstruction over the next 10 years, that you could bump that out even further then, and that would be something that the board would like to look at as a strategy to extend, to lessen the borrowing burden of reconstruction, that would be a way to like draw out land. And my recollection from discussions is always looking at the most efficient you know, it might be a bigger hit financially, but if it saves you, you know, if it's tied to an infrastructure project that needs to be done, then it's, you know, well worth it. So I do think like probably revisiting that plan and these projects would help the board understand if there's a way to draw it out longer or to affect our borrowing, or if this is just what we're looking at to be the most strategic and efficient.
When I came on board and the roads were like
Yeah.
garbage, and it's because previously they did the mill and overlay, they just come and grind it and it just deteriorate.
Faster.
Because we had roads that were put in almost 80 to 100 years ago and the base had totally disintegrated. So the effort was to get the base, that's why we totally reconstructed the gutters.
Mhm.
So now, mill and overlay would work if you've reconstructed, but you haven't, you gotta get through all the reconstructions before mill and overlay gives you that in-between couple, you know, every decade, mill and overlay.
If you're going for the decade, so
Right.
you can do mill and overlay, but it won't last as long on a bad bed. And so that was the philosophy.
Right,
But we
but we're
might-
gonna get in that situation again